1 million, and in 2018 was 18,461 million, and 2017 16,804 million. And for Santos Limited, the cash flow in 2019 2,920 million, 2018 2,110 million, and 2017 1,620 million. And in 2019, the cash flow for Fantastic Limited was 8,029 million, and 2018 10,180 million, and 2017 2,311 million. The cash flow from operating activities of BSP Limited had been increased in 2018 as compared to 2019 and 2017. Santos Limited operating activities was increases in 2019 as compared to 2018 and 2017, but in the case of Fantastic Limited, the operating activities was negative and improved in 2019 as compared to 2018. Now moving into this question number C, comparison of cash flow with net profit of BSP Limited. Net cash flow, the cash flow arrived considering the cash receipts and payments. Depreciation is not taken into consideration. Land purchases are considered to be cash payments, and payments of taxes mentioned there. Net preview. Now net profit came after considering all profits and expenditures. Depreciation is taken into consideration. Only revenue expenditures are considering for a capital expenditure. D. Tax is not treated as expenses. Below table shows the cash flow and net profit of BSP Limited. Cash flow in 2019 17,871 million, 2018 18,461 million, and 2017 16,804 million. Net profit 2019 8,306 million, 2018 3,705 million, 2017 5,890 million. The cash flow of the BSP Limited is more than its net profit because cash flow excludes non-cash expenditures like depreciation, amortization, etc., whereas net profit considers the non-cash items, which decreases the net profit. D. Below table shows the capital expenditure of each company, which are listed below. Capital expenditure for BSP Limited in 2019 9,960 million, 2018 7,550 million, 2017 6,180 million. For Santos Limited 2019 1,260 million, 2018 7,711 million, and 2017 891 million. Fantastic Limited 2019 0.152 million, 2018 0.426 million, and 2017 1,428 million. So BSP and Santos Limited generated enough cash only from operating activities to pay its capital expenditures. The Fantastic Limited does not generate sufficient cash from its operating activities to pay its capital expenditure. It requires cash from financing and investing activities to pay all capital expenditure. So this was the answer for question D. And question E. Below table shows the dividend part payment of each company. Dividend payment for BSP Limited in 2019 was 11,395 million, 2018 was 5,220 million, and 2017 was 2,921 million. Santos Limited 361 million, 97 million, and 2017 nil. And Fantastic Limited, it's nil for all the 3 years, 2018, 2017, and 2019. So dividend payment is not cash flow from operating activities. It comes under the financing activities of cash flow statement. BSP Limited paid dividend in all 3 years, and Santos Limited paid it for 2 years, but Fantastic Limited did not pay dividend in 3 years. Moving into question number F. All 3 companies use the excess cash from operations in their respective activities, which requires funds. The company can invest in debt or equity instruments and also in government securities. If the companies are not wanted to invest the excess cash, then they use in paying the dividends or capital expenditures. In all 3 years, the BHP Limited had positive cash flow from its operating activities, which can be used by them in investing and financing activities. With the help of excess cash from operating activities, the company will make investment and pay out its liabilities. BHP Limited mainly focuses on investing activities such as purchasing of plant and equipment, mines, and expenses on exploration. Santosh Limited use its positive cash from its operating activities and investing and financing activities. The cash is used to buy any capital assets for their business operations and also pay dividend to the shareholders on time. The Fantastic Limited had negative cash from its operating activities in all 3 years, which shows the company did not sufficient balance to pay dividend and invest in the investment. The answer for question C is S. PSP Limited uses a working capital accounts other than cash and cash equivalents as sources of cash. For instance, with trade payable increases, the cash will be increases, whereas if accounts receivable increases, cash will be decreases. Both inflow or outflow will impact positively or negatively on the cash. The inventories and accounts payable of PHP Limited impact positively on working capital and also to the operating activities of a company in 2019. So answer for question number H is major items affected cash flow. Following are the items which impact the cash flow of a company are listed below. They are purchase and sale of assets, borrowings and investments, loan repayments and acceptance, activities of trading. BSP Limited affects by discounted operations, which decreased cash flow from financing and investing activities and increased cash flow. In case of Santosh Limited, the cash flows were decreased due to the payment of suppliers and employees. The company financing activities was positive in all 3 years, and it was because of increase in stock and debt, and investing activities was decreased because of increase in capital expenditures. The Fantastic Limited had negative cash flow from its operating activities, which impacts its financial performance. The negative cash from the operating activities impact the financing and investing activities in an adverse manner. Trend in capital expenditure. Question number I. When capital expenditure of a company decreases, the cash will increase, which means that the cash is inflow in the company, whereas if capital expenditure increase, the cash will decrease, which means that the cash is outflow from the company. Warren and Jones, 2018. Santosh Limited. Santosh Limited's capital expenditure was 1,260 million in 2019, 771 million in 2018, and 891 million in 2017, and the trend improved from 2017 to 19, showing that Santosh Limited is investing in buying fixed and other assets for its company operations. BHP Limited company capital expenditures were 9,960 million in 2019, billions 7,550 million in 2018, and billion dollar 6,180 million in 2017. The trend indicates that the company capital expenditure rose between 2017 and 2019 due to the acquisition of land and building, factory and equipment, and other fixed asset that is useful for exploration. To boost its business activities, the company invests in fixed assets. Fantastic Limited. The company's capital expenditure declined between 2017 and 2019 due to a decrease in capital expenditure activities and the acquisition of a fixed asset. In 2019, the capital expenditure was 0.152, in 2018 0.426, and in 2017 $1.428. Trend in dividends. A dividend received is an investing activity which impact it in negative or positive manner. When the dividend received, the investing activities increases, whereas when it is paid, it decreases the investing activities. Santosh Limited. The amount of dividend rose in 2018 and 2019, and the firm made no payment in 2017. In 2018, it was 361.18 million, and in 2017 it was 97.77 million. BSP Limited dividend payment rose from 2017 to 2019, accounting to 11,395 million in 2019, 5,220 million in 2018, 2.921 million in 2017. Fantastic Limited in 2017, 2018, 2019 the company did not pay any dividends. Okay, trend in net borrowings. When the company's net borrowing increases, it will increase the cash, whereas if the net borrowings are decreases, then it will reduce the cash. Santosh Limited net corporate borrowings rose to $1,193 million in 2018 from $783 million in 2017 to $592 million in 2019. BSV Limited, the net borrowing for the firm decreased from $1,577 million in 2019, $5,288 million in 2018, and to $250 million in 2017. Fantastic Limited, the company's net borrowing has fallen from $3,647 million in 2017 to $2,630 million in 2018, and risen in 2019 to $5,666 million. And the answer for question L, trend in working capital accounts. When the working capital of a company increases, the cash will decrease, whereas if the working capital is decreased, it will increase the cash. In 2019 and 2018, the BSP Limited trade and other receivables were negative, although in 2017 they were positive. Accounts receivable in 2019 amounted to 211 million, 662 million in 2018, and in 2017 267 million. In 2019, a company's inventory was favorable relative to 2017 and 2018. Unlike the previous 2 years, the inventory had a favorable effect on cash flow in 2019 up to 298 million. In all 3 years, the balances due are positive and rise the operational cash flows. Finally, in other assets and liabilities and provisions, there are significant adjustments without consistency throughout the years. So this was all the answer for question number 1 from part B. And now moving into the question number 2. The company's financial strength is depending on the positive or negative cash flow. BSP Limited is the most profitable financial company in 3 years. The financial success of the company is greater and higher as expressed in the cash flow statement. BSP Limited produced mostly cash from its company activities, $16,804 million in 2017, $18,461 million in 2018, and $17,871 million in 2019 compared to 2018 and 2017. Investment in the company is optimistic in 2019. On the other hand, the financial operations of the company are unfavorable because of dividend distributions, loan repayments, and other borrowings. The currency and capital equivalence for 2017 for BSP Limited amounted to $17.38 billion in 2018, $17.40 billion, and in 2019 to $16.25 billion annually. Thus, this shows that the financial success of the business is strengthened and rises year by year. Santosh Limited has less cash flow than BSP Limited, which makes it less appealing for investment purposes. The financial output of the currency and cash equivalents in 2017 amounted to $400.86 million, 2018 to $919.75 million, in 2019 to $1.42 billion, which is smaller than the estimates for BSP Limited. The company seems to be failing in the case of Fantastic Limited, as can be seen in the poor cash flows from its financial operations, as means that the firm was unable to spend much and did not even pay dividends. The cash and cash equivalents of the company are 8,034,000 in 2019, 10,325,000 in 2018, and 3,199 in 2017, and comparatively less than the others. The lower or negative cash flow suggests a poor and worsening financial condition. So moving into question number 3. The company which has generated more cash from operating activities and less from financing activities, that company I select is PSV Limited for investment purpose. In contrast, this is because of the strong performance of the financial sector in relationship to other companies such as Santos and Fantastic Limited. BSP Limited has a positive and higher cash inflow from its operating activities, which is higher than Santos and Fantastic Limited, and makes investor to spend their money in BSP Limited. Thus, BSP Limited has higher amount of cash and cash equivalents than Santos and Fantastic Limited. Therefore, it is profitable to invest in the BSP Limited to earn positive return. So, the conclusion is from the above mentioned report, it is assessed that cash flow statements enables to understand the situation of real cash in the accounts. Moreover, assessment of financial statements is done effectively. This report contains the cash flow statement of three entities used to settle on the investment is chosen. BHP Limited, Santos Limited and Fantastic Limited are chosen to compare their cash flow statements. Although making the distinction BHP Limited is ideal for investing purposes, it has a good financial record relative to the two other firms. So that was all about the assignment presentation. So if you have any queries, you can email me on rasiq.ghimire@gmail.com. I'll be answering your every queries. So thank you. This was all for today. Good morning everyone. Today I am here for the presentation of assignment questions. Basically there are two parts in the assignment, part A and part B. Now moving into the part A, where you are asked to review the existing literature to critically examine the relative information content of the income statement and the statement of cash flows. Why do investors find both income statement and statement of cash flows useful? So first of all, coming into corporate accounting, which is one of the main tools for knowing the financial statements of a company. Due to rapid transparency, each stakeholder needs a clean and perfect picture of financial statements of a company where he wants to invest. In this report, cash flow statements are used to assess the financial statements of the company. This report is split into two sections, and the value of the income statement and the cash flow statement will be addressed in the first section. In contrast, in the second section, the cash flow statements of BSP Limited, Santos Limited and Fantastic Limited are chosen for comparison and review. The cash flow statement of the corporations for 3 years, that is from 2017 to 2019, is chosen for review in this article. So the answer for part A is as follow. First of all, income statement. Income statements are recorded on the accrual basis, means incomes are booked as received and expenses are booked as they incurred. This is quite necessary to record income and expenses for a specific period should be charged in that period. Investor will collect information of the income earned from the income statement of the company for the particular financial year. However, the company's actual cash flow can be understood by the cash flow statement because the cash flow statement incorporates cash generated by the company in the specific period. Now, cash flow statement. Cash flow statement is the statement showing the cash movement in the particular financial year. It can be made by using the indirect or direct method. In indirect method, the cash from operating activities are different from direct method. Other two activities like investing and financing are same in both the methods. Basically, there are three activities involved in the cash flow statement. 1. Cash flow from operating activities. It includes cash generated by the company from its activities. This is very critical because It is the actual cash generated by the company during the financial year. The operational activities include daily business transactions like sale and purchase. This activity is one of the most important activity among two other activities. The management decides whether they spend in the assets or borrow funds based on cash generated from the operations. 2. Cash flow from investing activities. The operating activities generated by the company determine whether or not to invest in the investing activities. Investing activities include the selling and purchase of assets in the particular financial year. In If cash from financial operations is reasonably strong, the organization will expect to invest in the acquisition of non-current assets to produce additional profits in the immediate future. 3. Cash flow from financing activities. The company is unable to collect cash from operating activities. It can finance through issue of shares and borrowing. If the company does not generate good operating cash flow, then these actions play a major role in generating cash through borrowings and bonds from financial institutions. To assess the company before investment, investors must consider the company on an accrual basis as well as cash availability, investment and financing decisions to recognize the liquidity position. So now moving into application of the statement of income to investors. They are identifying financial performance of companies, to know the company's profit loss position, to know the trends of the spending and earnings of company in a particular financial year, to know the company's EPS, that is earning per share, identifying sales growth patterns. And these are the application of the statement of income to investors. And now uses of cash flow statement. It allows investors to use the detail on a company's past cash flows to base their investment decisions on future cash flows, and it shows the adjustments in the balance sheet and helps to evaluate activities in operating, investing and financing. It offers visibility into the liquidity and solvency of a company that is vital to every organization's sustainability and growth, and it shows a company's financial position for a particular financial year, and it helps in offering information on the cash generation capacity of the main activities of a company. And the cash flow statements of various companies are used for comparison by shareholders and investors in order to display the consistency of their profits. This helps them to make the right decision. And last, investors pay considerable attention to both the income statement and the cash flow statement. The profit loss reflects in the income statement for the year, while the cash flow statement indicates a company cash surplus, this deficit position. And that is the uses of cash flow statement, and that is all for part A. Now moving into the part B, where we are asked to download the annual financial reports of BHP Limited, Santosh Limited and Fantastic Limited for the year 2019-18 and 2017, and we are asked to examine the consolidated cash flow statements for each companies across 3 years, and we need to answer the following questions about each of 3 cash flow statement. In one number it is asked 9 questions, 9, 10, 11, 12 questions actually. In the question number 1, that is for each companies except mentioned otherwise as in C, G and I below across 3 years on the statement of cash flows. And we need to discuss what are the major sources of cash for each firm, what are the major uses of cash for each firm, and what was the trend in cash flow from continuing operations for each firm Compare and contrast the cash flow from operations with the net profit after tax in income statement. Explain in detail the major reasons for the difference between these two figures. And we need to answer this question using only the cash flow statement for BSP Limited. Was the firm able to generate enough cash from operations to pay for all of its capital expenditures? Did the cash flow from operations cover the dividend payment role by the firm, if any? If the firm has generated excess cash from operations, how did the firm invest the excess cash? If not, what were the sources of cash the firm used to pay for the capital expenditures or dividends? Did the firm use the working capital accounts other than cash and cash equivalents as source of cash or usage of cash? Answer this question using only the cash flow statement for BSP Limited. What are other major items affected cash flows for each firm? What was the trend in capital expenditures for each firm? What was the trend in dividends for each firm? What was the trend in net borrowing proceeds from borrowing less payments of short and long-term debt for each firm? What was the trend in working capital accounts? Answer this question using only the cash flow statement for BSP Limited. And the question number 2 is as critically evaluate the financial strength of each of three companies based on the evidence presented in the statement of cash flows, and your answers in above. This is the question number 2. And question number 3 is if you are asked to evaluate these three companies for lending purposes, which of the three companies you will select for lending? Explain why. So these are three questions altogether. And moving into the answers, starting from question number 1. The question for A is major sources of cash for each company. Santosh Limited. The company's major sources of cash from its operating activities such as from its customers and other working capital, and they use this cash on its financing and also in investing activities. And BSP Limited. The company generated cash from operating activities which is utilized by them in financing and investing activities. The operating activities of a company is the major source of income which is used in purchasing the assets and paying the liabilities. Fantastic Limited. The company major sources of cash from its operating activities where they collect the cash from its working capital and use this cash for payment to suppliers and repayment of loans. And answer to question B, trend in cash flow from operations. In general, the cash flow trend is how the cash in company corporation flows compared to previous years. Positive trend shows that company are financially strong, whereas negative trends indicates that company are financially poor. The comparison will be between the company or within the firm. Operating investment and financial cash flow are included in this trend. Below table shows the trend in cash flow for operating activities for each company. For BSP Limited, the cash flow in 2019 was 17,800